tell you about my dog. My dog is a demon.
Hey, Jay, welcome to the pod.
Thanks for having me.
How's your day going?
So far, so good. No complaints.
What's bringing you joy these days?
Man, just life in general. Just happy to be here, you know? Home is great. Work is getting there, you know? No complaints.
How are the Commanders?
Oh, man. We're a little hurt right now, but,
Yeah.
you know, last year was great, but, you know, we're a little banged up, but, you know, it's still early. You know, I'm not letting nothing down right now.
Yeah,
We'll get there.
I still believe they're going to be able to go to
Hell
the
yeah.
conference at least this year.
Yeah, Mariota's looking good, you know. I think,
But the Eagles also look good.
you know, I can't count Jalen out, you know, and he's the Eagles and, you know, Saquon, you know, they do the damn thing. So if not us, it will be them, hopefully.
Yeah, no, I was talking, I was doing some research on Saquon, or just something came up on my feed or something. And he's a great investor. I didn't know that. All of his NIL deals and everything, he basically put it into early stage startups. And at this point, I think he's going to be able to retire in like 2 years.
Oh, boy, it's great. They're not going to let him go in 2 years. The Eagles need him.
They need him. Jay, you and I go way back. We go district vet, bond vet, and everything in between. How do you remember the early days of district vet?
Man, the early days of district vet, you know, I came back and you were there. I think you started like a week or two before I actually came back because I was there.
Where'd you come back from?
I was in California. So I was at district vet for 4 years. And then I left for California for 4 years. And I came back and you were there. And, you know, the energy was weird. You know, when I first got back, I think some people were kind of looking at me sideways because, you know, when someone comes back, it's a little bit expectation like, why'd they bring this person back? You know?
Right.
So, but you know me, I'm laid back and, you know, I kind of had to just show people that I don't care what y'all do. I'm here to do a job and I'm here to go home.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah. And, you know, I came in and, you know, I knew a couple of people that were already there. You know, Kristen was there, Hassel, you know, and they put me right back in surgery with him. And, you know, we got going like we didn't miss a beat. So, yeah, it was cool.
Yeah. And I still remember those days and I yearn for them. I really want to go back.
Yeah, you know, like that was the early district days was really good to us, you know, and it felt like home for a very long time.
Yeah.
And if I could have that back, I definitely would.
You know, we were part of a very tight-knit crew.
Absolutely.
You know, a lot of techs, a lot of assistants, everything was so cohesive. You know, and I've had multiple guests that worked there and have been part of that environment. I want to talk to you about Peter. What do you remember about him?
Man, 820. You know, that was something between him, you and I, you know, and that meant it was time to go. You know, he wanted us in surgery, you know, and, but you know, my first interactions with Peter, I remember my first day and I came in, we used to do a huddle, you know, in the pharmacy area.
Yeah.
And I'm scanning the room, you know, just looking at faces and, you know, kind of trying to get a feel of people.
Right.
I look over him. He just seems, you know, a little shy, quiet guy. You know, I always was like, what's up with this guy over here? You know, is he a jerk or is he just really, you know, shy? I didn't know what kind of, but, you know, I immediately was in surgery and that wasn't his surgery day. It wasn't until a couple of days I got to work with him. So the first couple of days I just kind of watched, and I was watching his interaction, you know, with the staff and everyone just seemed to like really gravitate towards him. Right. And, you know, hearing him, you know, interact with the staff and the way he was teaching and talking to them, you know, it felt comforting, you know, and I was like, okay, I see what kind of person he is. And then it went into like our first actual interaction. And, you know, he welcomed me with open arms, you know, and from there it was like, oh, this is my guy, you know. I remember he would go home and, you know, he would research stuff and he would bring it to us in the morning like, hey, y'all, look, I read up on this. I'm like, here he goes with his crap again, you know. You know, it was always something. But, you know, looking back on those moments, you know, I knew that while he was learning, he wanted us to learn and he wanted us to grow. And, you know, I'm really grateful to have had that experience with him, you know, and it was a short period that I had with him, but it felt like
a lifetime.
Exactly. And those moments were really precious. And, Yeah. That's how it was.
No, he was a great mentor,
Yeah.
a great friend. I told people that on this pod that everybody again gravitated towards him.
Yeah.
It was the same feeling that I got because you weren't judged by him.
Right.
You could come up to him with a silly question, anything stupid. I came up to him for dating advice. And he would be analytical, but he would tell you the truth and you would never feel like he was judging you in any kind of way.
Absolutely.
What about those days that have stuck throughout your career?
I would say going back and realizing that, especially where I am now, going into the management side, like you said, he didn't judge anybody and he gave everyone a fair shot. No matter how dumb you may think the question was or whatever the case may be, he was always there to listen, help, and to guide. And I take that from him, to this day. That really stuck with me throughout, and it's going to stick with me throughout my career. I have a picture of him in my office, just to remind me of that kindness, that he led and he showed me. Because to be 100% honest with you, it's hard to find that in doctors in this field. Not all of them are humble enough to have a relationship with their staff. They don't look at us as, people and people who are growing. They literally just look at like, do the job and get out of my way.
Right.
But Peter, he really showed me a different way of communicating. And, especially thinking back on like our last moments together and the things that he was doing for us, those parts really stuck out because he truly cared.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Jumping back into Bond Vet, that was a new experience for both of us. It was a startup phase for Bond as well. There were a lot of, perks, a lot of pros. What was your experience at that time? What'd you think of that?
Man, a startup was definitely weird. I did a startup before back at City Paws, but this was the first time I was in like a technician position,
Sure.
So they were new to the area. It was fast. It was fast approaching. And then there was some tension between where we had just left from,
Right.
having district literally behind us and we were on the next street over. So that experience was rough. There was a manager that wasn't necessarily ready for, everything that was thrown at her. So at a point, I felt like we were given kind of the short end of the stick. She wasn't supported. So then we felt not supported in that as well. And then there was no support from Bond. Looking at Bond's Instagram and Facebook, TikTok or whatever, you would think that they were like full blown, supportive of their staff,
Sure.
for the community and whatnot. But when we were actually in there, it turned out to be something completely different.
Yeah.
And that, it was a shocker. But I was like, okay, it's growing pains. Maybe that's just how it goes. But it just kept getting worse over time.
Did any of those challenges with the company ever improve?
No. I would say in-house, we made the best of it.
Okay.
But the company itself, we never felt heard. We never really felt like anyone was there for us. When someone showed up, it was to discipline. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
They would bring in, these different regional managers who would just come down on the staff. We were asking for things and there were things that were actually needed, like staff. We were always short staffed. And being in Capitol Hill, that location, we were the first one in the DMV area. So we went through a lot because we were training all of the locations that they were trying to open up so fast. And they were opening like 3 or 4 all at once. So everything just came down and the company itself was just throwing these things at us and it really burnt out the team. So we had to make it the best for Capitol Hill, but the company itself, it was pretty on paper.
Right.
But when it came to taking care of in-house stuff, no.
You were put in a supervisor position,
Yeah.
supervisor, nurse, technician. What lessons did you learn with that company?
That just because, they give you that position doesn't mean they value you there at that position. Because for a long time, they wanted me to do the job without actually recognizing me for it.
Okay.
And they also wanted me to fill the manager position, without recognizing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was grateful because the manager that was there, she recognized my potential and she seen how the staff gravitated towards me and I was leading them. So she vouched for me and I really appreciated that. But they really screwed me. They ended up they got rid of the lead position on me. And with no explanation, I had to literally fight for it. And they were like, oh, well, Jay, we'll get you in the clinic manager position next. And they were like, just kidding. We're not going to do that either. So they took that position from me. So I really learned that you can do the work, but at any point when they're done with it, it doesn't matter what you've put out,
You've stepped into a practice manager role now. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Do you feel supported? What have you learned? Is there anything new and exciting that your new role has to offer?
Yeah. So after Bond, I went over to Good Vets and I got my first practice manager position. It was great at first. I thought that Good Vets was going to be a great opportunity for me. And, it started off a little slow, but, we made the best out of it. And then Good Vets took a nasty turn for the worse. And as a practice manager and building the hospital, once again, I was a startup and I was the first Good Vets in the DMV area. Mm-hmm. So I dealt with this before at Bond. So I was like, okay, I have a little bit of experience. So maybe they'll trust me a little bit. So I get there, there were some issues with one of the medical director that was there, who was also a partner. We had some issues there and she was doing some weird stuff. And, I'm big on integrity. And that's, it's my job to call that out as well. So if I see something, I have to say something.
Okay.
And when I said something, it was like, okay, Jay, thanks for letting us know. And they handled that situation. And then a month later, it was thrown back in at me as if I was the cause of the problem. Right. So it felt very, it felt like a slap in the face, because then I started to feel like I can't say anything, but it's a part of my job. I lead with integrity. And if there's a problem, I should be able to speak about it and voice my opinion. I'm not looking to get anyone in trouble, but if there's something that's going wrong that management needs to know about, I have to speak on it. And especially when it's coming from a doctor,
right.
So fast forward, they brought in another doctor to replace her, without even telling me about it. They just hired this doctor who, came from ER. I found out 3 days before she started. And she came in very hot, man. Like it was nasty the way she came in at us. And she didn't give me opportunity to, get things going. She came in ready to do ER things. My team was not equipped for ER. I had 3 staff members.
And isn't it a GP practice?
Yeah, it was a GP practice. I had 3 staff members. We were open 4 days and they were like, all right, we need to go to open in 6 days. I'm like, 6 days with who? Give me some staff. And mind you, I had been begging for staff for months. This is even before, the original practice, the original MD had left. They would not give it to us. It was like, make it work. So me as a practice manager, I was also on the floor. So I didn't really get time to do like my admin things. And so I was falling behind on stuff. So I really didn't have a grasp on that. But anyway, they brought the new MD in and she just got really nasty with us. And then she started lying to HR about it. HR never spoke to me about it. Never asked me, what was going on. They just took her word for it. Mind you, the lady had been there for a week. And they decided that, it was her word against no one else's because, like I said, they didn't have a conversation with me. They took it, they ran with it, and I recognized what was happening. And I was like, you know what? She's a doctor. That's where their money is going to come from. And this is their company. This is how they want to run it. She did some things in surgery that really upset me and I voiced about it. And once again, they didn't listen to me. We shouldn't be, it was a cat neuter that was completely botched, 2 of them.
Sure. And
I called it out and they didn't like that either. But once again, as a manager, but also I'm a technician at heart. That's number one.
Right.
And if I see something that's being medically done incorrectly, it's my job as well to be an advocate for my patients, and if I'm at a company that doesn't recognize that and don't want that, that's not the company for me. So I decided at that point, enough's enough. My team actually followed me from Bond. Mm-hmm. 2 of them came with me, and they recognized it as well. So there was your 3 employees right there. Mm-hmm. And in the CSR, we got really close. But I was like, I got to get us out of here, because we all had the same values, we had the same morals, and we wanted to do it the right way. Mm-hmm. So I, started looking, and I came across Live Well.
Okay.
And man, Live Well has been such a blessing, and I went there, and they were like, what do you want? I said, I want space for me and my team.
Yeah.
They said, you got it.
Okay. Awesome.
And that's where I am now. And it has been the support, I don't feel stressed. I feel happy to go to work. Uh-huh. The doctor is amazing. The company itself is amazing. It was SVP, they just for MVP. And they do so much for you. Mm-hmm. They just make you feel valued and heard. And they're doing things the right way. They're not over expanding. And that's the problem with vet fields now. They're just throwing things up. They're doing it the right way. And I really appreciate them for that. So, and right now, I feel very supported and heard. But my first practice manager position, it was the complete opposite. And I almost bowed out of it because of that.
Incredible. I'm really happy you're in a good space right now.
Yeah.
Talking about integrity, and I'm going to talk about money. Most of these places we both worked and you've worked at are now being backed by private equity money, the big honchos. And it seems like that's the trend. I have had a lot of people in this show that talk about the same issues where, money is ruining veterinary medicine. Why do you think your current company is, any different than that? I know you mentioned the good quality so far, but
yeah. To be honest with you, they put people first. Obviously they have to make money, 100%. Right. But their values is making sure that people are good. And when you make sure your people are good, the money's going to flow with that.
Right.
And I think a lot of the vet field puts the money in front of the people. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where Live Well is doing it the right way. They are making sure that their staff has what they need, and they're not overwhelming their staff. If I need more staff, they're going to give it to me. If I need, what I'm saying? Like, those things are open and available for me. So they listen, and they're not, like I said, the prices are amazing. A lot of these places, they hike their prices up. People can't afford it. The times we're living in is 2025. People are struggling. Yeah. But we have companies who are charging $100 for a vaccine that in all reality cost us $4, to buy.
It's a good margin.
Yeah. And good vets, I'm sorry, not good vets. Live Well, we're at like $45 for these vaccines.
Right.
So we're doing things the right way. We're keeping things in house. That's another thing. We're not sending them to these specialty clinics where, they're getting these $20K bills, Right. Where I am, my doctor's doing chemo to make sure that his clients can afford these things. We're bringing in all these crazy machines and stuff. It'll pay for itself.
Yeah. I, it's funny you mentioned that. I'm really smiling because I worked at his low income area clinic in Laurel, Maryland. And, it was this 90 plus 90-year-old doctor. And he was incredible, great shape. Was just had the spirit of a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
And one of the things he mentioned was that a lot of these new clinics and a lot of these new associates that are coming out of vet school, they're afraid to practice the medicine they should be doing, like doing chemotherapy at a GP clinic. Yeah. Because in reality, it is expensive. Oncology, CHOP or anything in between, it's, thousands of dollars. Right. So, wow, that's really incredible.
He's amazing, and they give him, what he wants, but they give him what he wants because he's a good person,
right.
And he's doing it out of his heart. Like, this is genuine. He doesn't want his clientele going home worrying about if their pet is going to pass because I can't afford to take, I can't afford to go to specialty clinics because I can't afford this. We can do this in house. And then what I love about my doctor is, no, I didn't have any experience with chemo, but he sat there and he's like, we're going to block some time off. We're going to do this together and we're going to keep doing this together until we all get it, get it right.
Right.
So he walks us through it. He has the knowledge, which is amazing. So yeah, it's great. And it's so affordable. And it just feels good to have someone that aligns with, your values and your morals. And it's just, it's a breath of fresh air because it's been a long time coming.
This show, I want to pivot it to pet owners, not necessarily people in our field, but I want people to know, what VetMed is truly is. Somebody just got a new kitten, somebody just got a new puppy. What is your number one advice for them?
Number one advice is get to the vet. That's number one. And be patient and do your research.
Okay.
And I say that because there's so many different levels to pet ownership. You never know what's going to be thrown at you. Anything can come up. It's just like having a kid. It's different because we have health insurance, but it's also pet insurance. So people don't necessarily factor that in because our health insurance 9 times out of 10 is going to come out of our paycheck. So we're not, seeing those dollars, come out. So you don't necessarily have that luxury of just putting that to the side and not thinking about it, but knowing that like pet insurance is out there and doing your research because a lot of places offer, wellness plans. But the thing is about, I don't really like wellness plans because it's just wellness. It's literally what it is.
Right.
It doesn't help you if, your dog gets sick or your kitten gets, sick or anything like that.
Right.
But doing your research, being patient, and listening to your vet, and stay off of Dr. Google. And the breeders. Those are the Dr. Google and the breeders are driving me crazy.
Yeah.
Like don't get this vaccine and don't do this. No, absolutely not. Do your research. Listen to your vet staff. We're not in it for the money. We don't make no money.
We make the money.
We're not making no money. But do your research and make sure that you're open to things because, like I said, things are going to come up all the time. And we're not just talking in circles and trying to run up a bill or something. We want what's best for your pet. We want to save as much money in your pocket. Well, some of us do. We want to keep as much money in your pocket as we can. And we're still healthcare, and we still care.
Right.
And these things are important if you want longevity for your pets.
Going back to your manager experience, I worked with you. A lot of people, you have a very, I wouldn't say authoritative, but you have a very commanding aura, as kids call it these days. And I agree with people. I mean, people go to you for advice. You're very knowledgeable. I still remember one of the tests we took at Bond and you aced it, and even other people should have aced it. They didn't. How do you teach that? How do you go with your your people now and go about it?
To be honest with you, I am a horrible tester. I hate tests and I hate being put on the spot. But I teach things in the most layman's terms possible. And that's the way I learned. And I like people on the job. And let's do it. Let's do it in the moment. Let's talk each other through it. I like to show you what you're doing so you can further understand it. I can throw a book at you. I can throw you all these big words and you're going to stare at me and you're going to focus on that big word because you have no idea what I'm talking about. But if I, show you and explain to you in the layman's terms, okay, this is, breaking it down to you that way, you tend to listen more and not focus in on this 18-letter word that I have just thrown at you, So I am a very,
thrombocytopenia.
Exactly. Like, what the hell is that? No, let's break this down. Like, this is what it is. And, let's one step at a time. The big words, they'll come to you later. We'll learn that later. But if you know what you're doing, and you understand why things are happening and the what that is happening, everything else will fall into place. And that's how I've trained my technicians moving forward. And that's how, like even today, I have a CSR who's followed me for the last 3 years, who's now an amazing technician. And I trained her just off of that, just by being as basic as possible. And now she's running circles around some of the licensed technicians that I have on staff. You know,
it's incredible. Vet med isn't just about medicine at all. It's about people. It's about culture. It's about emotions. How do you deal with burnout? How do you keep your team motivated?
Yeah. Burnout is crazy. And it happens fast,
really
and
quickly.
You don't even notice it when it's first starting,
Are there any signs you've noticed?
I would say definitely a lot. Mistakes start to happen more frequently. You start to notice people calling out, and you start the sick call outs, come on. But let's be for real here.
Yeah.
You were fine yesterday. Now you have 102 degree temperature, and
you should be in the ICU.
Exactly. But no, you start to notice things and just people's appearance, and how they show up to work. You notice someone who would come to work groomed and their hair is done and this, and then you start to notice that has now start to change a little bit, So I check in with my staff a lot, and I'm not your average manager. So I don't like closed door, unless it has to be done. I don't like closed door one-on-ones. I just get on the floor. I'm going to hold this cat. And while I'm talking to you, I'm like, how's, I get to know, like, I want to know who their partners are so I can say them by names. Like, oh, how's so-and-so doing? How's,
sure.
Just having that personal conversation outside of them looking at me as a manager. So I have someone come to me the other day. He's like, you're the only manager I've ever hung out with outside of work, and it's because, I keep things very personal and I check in with them on that level. Like, I see you as a person. I can care less about this building right now. I want to make sure that you're okay and you're good. And if you need something, I'm here. No judgment whatsoever. So that's how I handle those.
Are you hiring?
Always. Come on in.
I've had managers that, the only managers I can only remember in my time are the ones that are exactly like you.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that because you're my friend and stuff like that, but it's true. I've always remember the managers who get to know you better personally, and they know, again, you didn't put any hair grease.
Exactly.
Right? You show up and my hair's not looking good, or your scrubs are not looking good, or something like that. They know. Yeah. And those are the small things that matter at the end. What advice do you give to the younger techs who are just starting, or any assistance, anything?
Hold on. And I say that because vet field can be cutthroat, and some of the older techs, can be a little rough,
sure.
And it's kind of some of them have the bully mentality, I've seen it. Luckily, I've never had to have that, but some of them do bully the younger people that's coming in. And at the beginning, for me at the beginning of my career, it felt like I would never get there. I remember being an assistant and just loading rooms and taking TPRs and looking at the technicians up top doing dentals. I'm like, damn, I want to do that one day.
Yeah.
And it just felt like I could never get there because there was such a line of people in front of me that was already there, or who I felt was more knowledgeable than me. Just be patient, observe, and speak up. Because we don't know, people don't know that you want more unless you voice that you want more. But the opportunity is there. And just because you don't, that company or that practice doesn't work out for you, there's so many other opportunities out there. You're going to get there. Right. We all started somewhere, and, just keep pushing.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Keep on trucking. Exactly. I want to step away from the clinic for a moment.
Yeah.
I want to talk more about you. If anybody can hear in the back someone barking, that's our friend Hugo. I'm taking care of him for the weekend.
Hugo.
So he wants to come on the pod and just chit chat. Again, I want to talk about you personally. You're Celtics diehard. You're Commanders fan.
Yeah.
Where does that passion come from?
Man, I've been well, Commanders fan since birth. I don't think my family would have allowed it any other way.
Would you call them Redskins? Is Redskins?
Oh yeah, Redskins. The only reason I'm saying Commanders because you led with that, but they're still the Redskins in my book.
Yeah.
But respectfully, we'll go with the Commanders for right now. I call them the Skimanders. Yeah. But and the Celtics. I growing up, I don't know where the love for the Celtics came from, to be honest with you. I just knew I hated the Wizards.
You just hated the Wizards.
Literally. And then green was my favorite color. So I think it just gravitated towards, Boston, And then, my dad took me up to a Boston game one day and it was crazy up there. And that from that moment on.
It's Boston.
Yeah, man. From that moment on, it's just been Wizards, Commanders and Celtics, and that's it. But yeah, that passion there. I've always loved basketball, but the Wizards have not won since I've been born.
Yeah,
we've had some great players on the Wizards team. Don't get me wrong.
Wall.
Wall. We had arenas.
Yeah,
as Jordan came back from retirement at one point. Dude was 50, but. But good effort. But the Wizards just never did it for me. I still go to the games and whatnot, and cheer them on. But for the most part, my heart is with Boston, and
your heart's with Boston,
and the Skimanders will always be my go-to.
For the Skimanders, you were at the conference finals last year, right?
Man.
How was that? That was expensive, right?
It was amazing. The energy. The energy is great. It's just the area we needed that.
Yeah.
I
feel it. I feel like every Commanders fan nowadays feels like they've had that, dark cloud over their heads, and now they're like, let's
go. Long, man. It's been we're just happy to have something to cheer about. You know what I'm saying? And we got young boy JD5 out there. He's doing it. He got a little knee issue right now, but he's gonna bounce back. I'm not worried about it right now, but it feels good to bring, and then they're coming back to DC, which is amazing. I think that's going to bring so much, even more fireworks to the city. We need that.
You're a DC resident,
born and raised.
Yeah. One of the things people are arguing about is the stadium, how it's going to gentrify and and this is off topic, by the way. I just wanted to bring it up. They're gentrifying the area. It's going to cost billions of dollars. How do you see that? How do you balance that as a Commanders fan and then also a DC resident?
The whole DC is gentrified. It's happening. Regardless. But I look at it as it's something for us, for the fans. That's how I'm looking at it. It's been so long since they've been out Landover. RFK has been sitting there for so long. It just
it's
rust,
crumbling.
It's just sitting there. Like, there's so much we can do with the space, and why not bring our team back to where they're supposed to be?
Right.
Everyone else, most other teams are playing where they're supposed to be. We have the space. Let's utilize it. So as far as it being gentrified, yes, DC is gentrified. That's just how I look at it. But it's going to bring jobs into the city. The youth will have something to do. So I look at it as opportunity, and to get our team back on home soil.
I don't know if you follow the money of the Commanders, but they change ownership.
Yeah. Thank God.
In vet med, you see that often with vet clinics being bought out. What do you think? Deep down, it's all about the money, right? But what's your opinion on that?
It is all about the money.
Can ownership still, like, how do you balance? I know that the Commanders change ownership. They go to the conference final. Great players, great base. Does it always have to be about the money?
I don't think it always has to be about the money, but I do think the money's a big part of it. The company I'm with now, they were SVP, and now they just brought MVP, which is funny because MVP was owned by District that was under them.
Right.
So I really haven't seen the effects of it because it's so new. It just happened.
Right.
But we're doing this big conference and whatnot. So I really don't know like the ins and out of it as of right now. But I do think the money, we're not going to get around that part of it. Everyone wants more money. Everyone wants that part of it. So I think as far as, money in vet med, when it comes to the corporate side of it, it's always going to be there, man. Like, yeah, that's what it is.
You take an annual trip to to Jamaica.
I'm actually leaving in a couple of weeks.
It's a couple of weeks. I gotta join you.
Yeah.
I won't be able to come back.
Yeah.
You go to Jamaica. What's
Every
so,
3 months.
What's so good about Jamaica?
It's home.
It's home.
You know, and you know, it's
Come on.
oh man. It's home, and here, America,
Mhm.
especially these last 10 years or so, it's been hard to be here.
Uh-huh.
Everything that's going on, it's sickening. Everyone's looking over their shoulders. I'm worried about not only myself, but people I care about. You know what I'm saying? And it's sad because I go to Jamaica and I'm going there to like get the beaches and, you know, ride ATVs and all that stuff. But then I see the people and they, you know, their housing isn't the greatest. But the thing that sticks out to me is they're grateful.
Mm-hmm.
And here, it's the complete opposite. You know, we're crabs in a barrel over here. You know, we're so divided and putting, you know, each other against ourselves.
Uh-huh.
It's horrible. And of course, everywhere has their crime. You know, Jamaica has their crimes or whatever the case may be. But at least they come together as a people. Here, I need to get away from here.
You need to get every 3 months.
I gotta go. You know,
Yeah.
So I make it very clear everywhere I go. Like, look, y'all, this is non-negotiable. I have every 3 months. I need that mental cleanse to get the hell away from America.
Yeah.
You know, and whether it's Jamaica every 3 months, but we may, you know, sneak in, you know, Dominican or Mexico, somewhere, but it really is just about, you know, spiritual relief and getting away from the chaos and just truly unplugging from America and its chaos, you know, whether it's politics or the violence, you know, like I said, everywhere has it, but it's just so in your face right here. It takes a toll on your mental, you know?
Yeah. That's a great coping, you know, tool.
Yeah.
Do you use that as a burnout tool?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If I didn't do that, I would burn. So we actually pushed this trip back because a couple of friends wanted to come with us.
Uh-huh.
This is the longest I've been, and I am losing my damn mind right now. We went in May. So we were supposed to go in August.
Uh-huh.
You know, that's typically our date, but we pushed it back. I'm like, I can't do that. I was telling, you know, just the other day, I was like, I can't do this.
What's your favorite food about Jamaica?
My favorite food?
Uh-huh.
Oh man.
Jamaica.
Give me that ackee and sawfish. You know, you got jerk chicken. You know, oh my God, I can go on pepper shrimp. I'm just gonna get fat, you know. But you know, I love going through lobster season. You know, Caribbean lobster is amazing, and having it on the beach and just looking out at the water is just perfect. But I think my newfound love for sawfish and ackee is probably the best one out there.
You have reptiles, don't you?
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, I have to kind of put you on the spot, but and this is about me too. But you have snakes, and you're deadly afraid of rats and mice.
Put me out. Yo, it is so funny because
I'm the opposite, by the way.
Yeah.
I put a snake. I literally will have a panic attack.
Yo, I hate rats, yo. And this is trauma because I don't know where it came from, but to this day I have to get Jess to come and watch me. Like if they're frozen, I'm a little better. That's fine. I'm still like jumpy with it. Whatever. But the live ones, absolutely not. I can't do it. So we had to like start stunning them, and you know, or she's got to do it because I can't deal with it. Put me in a room with snakes and lizards and all that other crap.
Fine.
I'm fine. But a damn rat? Absolutely not. I can have all these things, but I'm scared to feed them. Yeah.
What's the emotional connection you have to reptiles? You know, a lot of people see them as they're not furry, right?
Yeah.
They're not furry. They hiss sometimes and they swivel, but
they got attitudes.
But yeah, what do you see about them that you love?
You know, people. I think it's the negative energy that they get from people. You know, because I tend to like everything that people don't like. You know, the breeds of dogs that I have,
right.
And then the reptiles. You know, So I like to try something different. So everyone's scared of snakes. Jay's gonna go get a bunch of snakes, and I'm gonna bring them to work, and I'm gonna force you to love them.
I still have a picture of you with the snake around my neck. Yeah, I did feel better after, by the way.
So it's for me, it's about education, and especially in the Black and brown households, we are really taught that those type of animals are evil, and we don't mess with those.
Right.
So, for a long time growing up, I was like, I can't mess with snakes because they're going to do something. They're sizing me up to eat me. And the older I got, I'm like, yeah, that's BS, so I just went the opposite way and educated myself. And now I enjoy educating other people and showing them that, hey, they're just animals like anything else out there. They have their moments. Just like a dog can bite you, a snake can bite you.
My dog will bite you.
Well, I know a few dogs that'll tear you up before my snake will,
Do you remember your first snake?
My first snake, her name was actually the first snake that I could own when I was an adult because my family wasn't going for that. Her name was Mom, but she actually just passed. She had pneumonia. We got her in California. She was 7 years old. And she just passed of pneumonia. But she was a regular ball python. Nothing special about her, but that was my baby. We went to a reptile show out in California, and I fell in love with her as soon as I seen her. I was like, this is the one. And she started a problem, and I just kept getting them over and over again.
She started at everything.
Yeah.
You've done so much from, tech field to startups to leaderships. What's next for you? What's your next chapter? Personally, professionally?
Yeah. Personally, I think just, continue to, work on, building my family, growing. The ultimate goal is to get out of the United States. We want to live abroad eventually.
Jamaica? Or somewhere
not Jamaica,
else?
only because, of their laws, and I love Jamaica 100%, but I also respect the laws of the land and realizing that, homosexuality over there isn't, something that they will recognize. And I always tell people like, well, why the hell do you keep going over there? I'm like, do you agree with everything your government has to say over here? But that doesn't mean that the people, so
I don't think we're going to be wanted anytime soon.
Exactly. So I'm like, it's not about that, but I respect countries.
Right.
So I see that. But no, it's Thailand. Thailand,
okay.
Bali is amazing. So those two places are on our list. We're actually visiting them next year.
Awesome.
To figure out to start.
It's a long trip, isn't it?
Yeah. Is this about 16 hours or
16
so?
16 hours, yeah.
But we have 4 very large dogs, and we can't haul all of them over there. So it is in the future, but not right now. But so now we're just doing our research to figure out what best is going to suit us.
Okay.
As far as professionally, continue to grow in my profession. I really love the direction I'm going in as far as management, and continue to climb the ladder.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Are you buying any real estate soon, or after you visit?
So and that's where I'm going back and forth with it is because I don't see myself here long term. So of course I wanted to buy a house. That's something that we thought about in our future. But now that we have determined that we want to move abroad, we're not 100% sure that we want that tie down to the United States because we want to move around. We want to see the world. I don't, we'd be happy to own something here. Eventually, kids could be in our future or whatnot. But as of right now, while it's just the two of us, we want to be free. We want to keep moving and, not be tied down to anything and have to worry about. Of course, we could Airbnb it or rent it out, but I don't want to deal with that mess. I see what landlords and stuff have to go through. If I can just move around and be free, that's what I want to do. So, yeah.
You guys are nomads.
Yeah, man.
Nomads.
Live under the radar.
If you could change one thing about the vet field, what would it be?
I would say, the mental health part. That would be the one thing. And when I say mental health, I would say the lack of support that we get for the mental health. We see a lot, we hear a lot, and we go through a lot, and there's not a lot of support there for us. There's a lot of groups out there, but it's not always readily available for us. And, it feels like a little bit of hesitation when people are going through things because if I give it feels like companies look at it as if I give them the resources, maybe they're going to need some time off.
Right.
I can't afford them to be off right now,
Right.
you know? So if I could change one thing, it would be us, you know, being able to recognize signs faster than before it's too late.
Incredible.
Yeah.
You know, when they think about you, when I think about you, I think about knowledge, commanding and respected. And how do you want people to remember you by?
To be honest with you, you know, I just want to be remembered as, you know, someone that just, you know, no judgment. You know, I'm just laid back. I don't want no problems. You know, I treated everyone, you know, with respect, and I'm able to blend with very different crowds, you know, and I want to be someone that is remembered that had integrity, and advocate for people that I care about and people that are around me, you know, and that's big for me because not a lot of people have that support. You know, I didn't feel like I had that support growing up. So giving that out now to people is really big to me. And that's something that I want people to always remember, like, you know, Jay was a good person and had my back, you know.
I surely remember you by that.
Yeah.
You've always been there for me, and I really thank you for that.
Of course, man.
What hopes do you have for the vet field?
Hopes that, you know, it'll continue to grow, but I also want it to slow down. You know, it is becoming a little overwhelming. It's so many of them. They're popping up like gas stations now, you know. Like, man, I know COVID, we've seen a big increase. So I think a lot of people got very excited, which is fine, you know, but now we're in a different time. And so now we need to slow down and relax because right now we're just bringing people in and, you know, we're burning people out a lot faster.
Right.
And the field, I see more people leaving than coming in.
Yeah. You know, I've seen reports that, you know, new companies, older companies are having a hard time hiring people. And that seems to be the trend.
Yeah.
Jay, anything else you want to talk about?
No, man, that was great. You know, I was scared at first, but I think I did good.
You did amazing. I really thank you for coming on, and appreciate you.
Of course, man. Anytime. Thanks for having me.
All right.
That was fun. Yeah. That wasn't too bad.
No, you did great.
I really